All right, so I finished the DLC in Elden Ring. I played a full intelligence sorcerer for the entire playthrough and finished the DLC with blessing level 0. So use no fragments whatsoever. Most of the game I played using Common and Common Azure, stuff like this, like the really, really high impact spells. It didn't really work that well for this, just like with his magic resist or just the amount of damage you're putting out. It was much better I found to turn over to being basically like a Snow Witch and using Glintstone Ice Crag and Ronnie's Dark Moon only. Glintstone Ice Crag with the Azure Staff, which increases your cast speed, is a really efficient, quick, snappy spell to build up Frost procs, which do 3 to 4k damage. And the Moon itself has got some really, really smart applications here for blocking some of his meteors and just overall enhancing how efficient the rest of your damage is. So I was born in the 80s, so if I can do this encounter, I think you obviously you can too. I relied on a lot of videos to get this done to figure out how to dodge some of the moves. So I want to do some pointers on how I went about this. So let's check it out. Block this here. Okay, so again, 6 mana flasks, 8 health flasks worked for me. You don't need that much mana when the frost procs do so much and your spell's so cheap. So dodge this forward to the left. You have to pay attention to which moves you can get one shot in afterwards or two. In this case, I do two, but mostly what you want to do here is get out of the way. This is a 3 or 4 hit combo between the second and third move. If you delay it enough, you can hit him there, but watch out how his spin move might dodge it. So he did 3 out of his 4. After this, you can only get one safe hit here, because if you cast a second one, he might Lion's Claw over it or use this. If he Lion's Claw over it, you just kind of waste a spell. It's not the biggest thing ever because your spell's incredibly cheap. This is another move that's a 3 or 4 hit combo. That time he just did it once. If he walks towards you, you can usually see if you cast once at a time. So here's the key. Use a parry here, and then at this point, move to his left shoulder, block the second shot, and then you can very reliably get a second parry off that. It's very, very important to move to his left after the parry to... I swear to God, it makes it more likely that he does this combo as opposed to the stomp afterwards. But do not move too far to his left, because then his sweeping right shot, you won't be able to block, because it'll basically be behind you instead of in front of you, and the damage will still proc. So again, pay attention to when you can get one shot or two shot. We got our first Frostbite proc. You probably want 2 Frostbite procs in phase 1. Roll this always, only do one shot afterwards. You want to be safe in phase 1 and waste as little as possible, mana wise and health wise. So here's the second shot. Here's the third. And then if he does a fourth, here you can cast 2 shots after this. If he stops after 3, you can get 2. Here I just want to back off essentially. If he's walking towards you, which he's more likely to do when he has Frostbite on him, you have more chance to kind of cheese him with this stuff. But this takes a long time to figure out. Okay, here. Switch to Ronnie's Dark Moon. Roll this if you're close to him. Cast Ronnie's Dark Moon immediately. In this case, I just got a Frostbite proc and it's on him. So you can actually cast 2 moons here if you want, with very few circumstances where you get punished for it. But 1 moon not only blocks all of those meteors, he now has the increased 10% damage of the moon on him. But using 2 there is not worth the mana cost. The spell is like prohibitively expensive. Even here, I'm getting low enough mana that I think I actually run out of mana here without noticing. So this is a damage-free phase 1 so far, and he's almost at that point where he's going to switch over. I think here is where I got caught running out of mana. Roll this. You can get 2 shots off here, and it usually won't punish you. But if you're really trying to have a perfect phase 1, you can only really get 1 off here. So parry this, move to his left, block this. Make sure you don't get too much to the side of him. Move with him, parry this one. This is a lot of free damage. You can cast more if you want there, but for the sake of efficiency, taking the free 14 to 1500 with the dagger really felt to me to be more useful. I love the way he stares at you here as you get the critical hit. It's one of the coolest parts of this. Okay, so here is when you get your first flash regen. We're getting to the end of phase 1 here. This is a risk, but it worked out. You can tag him there, but a lot of times he'll spin out of the way and move it there. So once you sort of really master the phase, you can squeeze in some extra damage in a lot of places without reliably missing too much stuff. And then here we go. So the keys to is sort of like your checklist of getting into phase 2. he's going to use Miquella's Light as the first one. The first 4 moves he's going to do, one of them is going to be Miquella's Light. So get into it. If you need to heal your health or mana, do that first, and then wait till after Miquella's Light to use your flask. For me, I use the flask that's basically just damage negation and increased magic attack, but it lasts long enough for phase 2. But if you do the beginning of phase 1, it won't last to the end of phase 2, where actually it really matters. If you're at high health and mana, use the flask instantly at the start of phase 2. But here the key is to keep an eye on what he's doing, and don't focus on damage, and don't get caught flat-footed when he raises his arms up in the air to start using Miquella's Light. You don't want to get caught in that at this point. It's not, there's no real benefit to it. So it's kind of stay mobile, stay active, tag him a little bit after some of his moves, but keep aware that he is inevitably going to use Miquella's Light in the first 15 seconds of phase 1 and phase 2, and he usually uses it often. So the keys to phase 2 are, I'll show you a couple of tricks, but generally speaking, you have to stay near him to not get one-shot by his foreshadow move. I'll show you the angles that are best with a light roll to avoid a lot of his other shadow moves. And there's several circumstances in which you can use Ranni's Dark Moon in order to totally disrupt what he's doing and negate some of the damage he has. The big key is there's some unpredictable nature in this move, in this phase. When he raises 2 swords like this to do his like 8-hit spinning move, if you can hit him during that with the right kind of damage, he will, generally speaking, change that into a different combo that's much less dangerous. I find that combo is the one that's most sure to at least chunk you for about half your health. It's very hard to reliably dodge all 6 or 8 shots, whatever it is. So there's a couple of moves here where I want to pay attention to when you can squeeze in a Dark Moon and how much counterattack you can really do. A lot of the moves you don't even have time to flask afterwards, you just have to keep up on it. I use my shield pretty regularly here. There are some moves that you can parry here that I do often parry in phase 1 that I don't necessarily parry in phase 2. I wasn't reliably getting the timing, and especially with the explosions on the ground, you're sort of eating damage, so rolling is a little better in phase 2. Obviously means you get less free damage from getting the critical attacks, but it's not really worth the risk of blocking the move and then parrying to get 2 parries with explosions going on under you. The timing just felt, generally speaking, pretty weird. Okay, so first things first, remember, try to keep an eye on how much frost damage you got, whether you need to use 2 moons. You never really get to do that in phase 2, but that's the big key in phase 1. But starting phase 2, do not get flat-footed, tag him a little bit, make sure your health and mana is topped up, and get ready for when you can use your flask after Miquella's explosion. If you get out of the range of Miquella's explosion, you're very, very free to punish him with a moon, because there's very, very low incidences of the explosions happening. This move rolled 90 degrees to the right. Keep an eye on him. He'll do 2 different combos here, either the line or a larger swinging combo. This is always instant. He either does the grab after this or this move here, which you can parry. Keep an eye out for the explosion after that. Do not get caught flat-footed here. I barely have enough time to get out of this. The shield I'm using is 100% damage shield, 100% physical damage shield, and the highest holy damage block I could get. Obviously, I have carry and retaliation on it. I'm not sure there's a circumstance here where I can show that you can block his slow disc spell. Here it is. That's the slow disc spell you can carry in retaliation, but the moon blocked it here. Roll this to the right. The moon is going to hit him through that. So now he's the increased damage. You see the blue lines on him. That means that he's taking the increased damage from the moon. This move, you absolutely have to be near him enough to roll through this. And you have to roll through him and forward toward him the second the first shadow goes out, if not before. If you get caught backing up or something like that, you have a very, very high chance of dying when he starts lining up that move as his most dangerous. This move you cannot flask afterwards. You can get 1 cast off of, but that's it, safely. That move you can block. There's a 3-hit combo that's part of that there. Here, whenever he runs in, he always does the parry. You can move left to try to get the same parry combo as before. You must block this stomp if you don't want to jump it. This move you can block as long as you're back enough, the explosions don't hit you, and then roll forward through him past his shoulder for the second part of it. There's room for a double tag there. This can be either a 1-hit or 3-hit combo. He can do a 4th. If he does a 4th where he buries them on the ground, you have a big counterattack window. Here he just does 3. You can tag him once. This one, roll directly to the right, but wait a little bit. Do not roll as soon as he dashes to the left. Wait till the shadow comes out. Roll directly 90 degrees to the right. If you're having trouble with him getting caught in the vacuum suck, there's ways of getting about that. It's not really applicable in this video. Roll this. 1 shot afterwards, and do not use flasks. So you don't have time, because too regularly he'll do this. This is the same combo as in phase 1. And so now he's going to slam down, roll this, and roll directly back toward him because it's a circle out from him. And that's there's a big counter attack window you can get to there. Block this. I missed that. Look how much damage it is compared to this. And then move forward through this as per always. If you get a chance, use a moon here, because he'll very, very often use his dance move. I heal and use the moon, which is incredibly greedy. This could have killed me. So I take the hit, but I hit him with the moon, and therefore he stops doing the whirlwind. He stops doing the whirlwind combo. So that was both bad and good there. But very, very regularly after this 4-hit move, where is it? Where is it? So here it comes out. Very regularly after this move, if you are not too low health, bust out Irani's Dark Moon here. Here I healed and then moon, which is very greedy, and it barely worked out for me. So you'll see me take this damage, hit him, and then instantly he stops that combo and starts swinging into other moves. It's a really weird part of this fight, how he'll just basically pivot combos in mid-move, and I'm not entirely convinced that it's actually intended. Whenever he sprints towards you, he's always going to do this move, which is parryable. It's very easy to tell. He does this, you can block this. In phase 1, I parry this, but look, you take the extra damage from the explosions on the ground. It's just not reliable. Keep your opportunities to always make sure you're at full health, or at least 80% whenever you can. This is a move where, again, I just barely get at a range of this. Roll this in panic, refill your mana. This is where I finally use the flask because I'd forgotten before to use it. But, you know, he's still at 40%. This is a very, very greedy move where I use the moon after the flask. This is, again, a bad decision, and I get punished for it. Only use the moon after a safe explosion that you avoid, or when he catapults in the air. This is a double cast counterattack, but instead I use it to heal. It's one of the rare double cast counterattacks. This one is easy to roll once you get the timing. Tag him once, keep your distance. But don't be backing up too much when he's not attacking, because if he gets caught in his big move, you're in big trouble. This one is just basically like a reprieve with a cheap counterattack at the end. He only does 2 there, so you get 1 cast counterattack. And then he's up, directly to the right, 90 degrees from him. Keep an eye on this. This is the other move he can do, which is longer and more dangerous. I died a lot to this. Roll this. Keep your healing up. Keep track of everything. Kind of memorize how much of a counterattack you can get here. This is an easy parry. So here's some free damage. You can cast on him, especially in phase 2. It's not that bad to cast on him. But honestly, I feel like, especially, look, it's 1688 because he's taking extra damage from the moon. If you have moon and flask and frostbite on him, that's like 18 to 1900 free damage, which is pretty good. Here's the key. He's up. Roll this. Change to Dark Moon. Instantly channel and cast Dark Moon. You will never get hit by the comet here. But the difference is you have to avoid this differently. Most people in most videos tell you that when he leaps into the eye in the sky, you run directly backwards, jump the comets to the right in the next direction, and then run in an L this way to avoid it. However, in this case, you take so long casting the Dark Moon, and you almost 4 times out of 5 will hit him with the moon before it lands. The key is here, you can't run into the direction to the right. You can roll it if you want, but it's unreliable. So what you basically need to do here is once the moon goes up, avoids all the meteors, you move to the side, you block all 4 of the ghosts, taking like 1% damage each, roll the last one if you want, and then roll back toward him here. So you're sacrificing a tiny bit of damage, about 5% of your health from the shadows, but you manage to hit a moon and take no risk from the meteors. Again, you can't flask this. If you do, you're being very greedy. Single tag, keep backing up. Watch out for the quadruple shadow. Here he's doing the weird thing where, okay, instant attack, roll this, watch what movie does afterwards. 2 times out of 3, he'll do this grab. Single tag, keep your distance. He'll always attack with Lion's Claw or something else. Similarly mobile after he dodges to the side. There I roll improperly. And now I get fucked because I drink the flask and now I don't have time. So I realize this, tag him once or twice here, and then tank this because this will kill you if you don't tank it. And now you're in this, so you can't counterattack that much because there's more explosions inside the radius than there are outside the radius. Roll this. If he spins once, you get a single shot. If he does the double Lion's Claw, you can get a double shot. Just, I've been blocking that stomp. You can jump it. I wasn't really reliably getting it done. He doesn't do the overhand shot there to the big explosions. You get one. You must roll toward him. I'm barely in range here to roll through him for this. That was really close to dying. Here I'm choosing to just refill my mana. I'm not taking the risk of doing the moon again. This is a single cast spell, but Glintstone Icecrag is a pretty low range. This is a nice, this is where you can do a double cast punish. What's next? He's still doing the threatening walk menacingly toward me. There's the big frost proc. We're getting to the final stage here. So break lock on faster than I do here. Choose whatever direction you have the most space to run in and just sprint as far as you can. This sometimes can bug out where he'll land near you and it's not necessarily reliable. There are some weird bugs in this fight. But just if you run in a straight line with the most space possible, you should be good from this. Some of the weirder bugs in this game I find here, I use some holy damage negation here, like the pickled necks or whatever they're called, that blocks holy damage, just because I'm having a pretty good attempt. This tags me, but luckily this most damaging spell, I am far enough away that most of the damage I avoid. A little bit of panic rolling here, but for me, for my money, getting hit only once by that spell. That spell was the last real roadblock in figuring out how to get through this boss fight. That big combo. Block this, take a tiny amount of damage. This is full physical damage, but the rest is mixed and can really hit you quite hard. But that's a block or a roll. You can parry it if you want, if you learn it. Stay safe here. We're getting near the end, so don't greed this fight. Just stay regular. See, he immunes that. Once he gets to that phase, he actually immunes whatever damage you take. This is a good moon. Proper free damage here. He might teleport before this hits him. So he does teleport past it, so I miss it. But still do that moon most times, because if he does the 8-shot dance, you're looking good. My shield's up. Kind of keep your shield up between attacks. This you have enough room to get out of, just barely. If you want, break lock on and look where the edge of the dome is. It's not always easy if you're playing a controller, because your left thumb is on the direction pad and your right thumb is on circle for running. So you can't really safely click the right stick to D-lock on if you're playing with the PlayStation controller. I can't really say what it is for other people. You can block this as long as you're back far enough the explosion to hit you. Always roll forward through the cross past his shoulder. That's a double punish there. I see him walking, so I can take out a couple little cheek B throws. Once you really get a sense of the encounter, you can start doing that more regularly. That's a parry if you want. At this point, it's not really that important. At this point, I'm just trying to stay clean. This is actually my second encounter of the day after like days and days of failing this. Does he jump over that? No, he got him. So I actually didn't even think I was going to get this one. I was taking it pretty relaxed. So remember, 90-degree angle directly to the right. Keep an eye on him. Watch what he does next. This move can kill you if you roll poorly and don't see it coming. That was a risky heal. Look how close that sword is to hitting me. It's like last possible second I roll it. That was a really dumb risk. So at this point, just stay safe. Tag him, don't break your rules. Carry and retaliation that. Watch what he does afterwards, which is a very quick sword stroke. If he does the slow disc that you can carry in retaliation, and you're close to him, he always does a very, very quick sword stroke. If he's far away from you, he tends to do the dash to the side and do a single shadow followed by a lunge. Stay safe here. One tag. Roll this or block it. You have to roll the rest of it because that is mixed damage. He always does something with the blood flame obscuring what he's doing, so careful and get ready to roll and don't attack him in that moment. And at this point, I try to greed. He leaps over it. This could have one-shot me. That would have been rich irony. That's happened before. And then you get a double tag there. And the fight is over. There it is. So, to summarize, use Ranni's Dark Moon once or twice, depending on how close he is to a Frostbite proc in phase 1. When he leaps in the meteor, only tag the vacuums with only one shot safely if you're trying to be efficient. Get some parries to get some free damage if you're doing this. I have a Glintstone Chris as the only thing I could use as my offhand that scales with intelligence that keeps me in a light roll. The only piece of this gear that actually really matters is the helm because it increases your snow sorcery. I'm using Rogier's gloves, which increase glintstone abilities, which should work for this because it's called Glintstone Ice Crag. In phase 2, memorize where you can get a double hit versus a single hit. Memorize your roll angle. Do not be backing up without him attacking you because you need to be able to roll through the 4-hit shadow and then hit him with a moon afterwards. Hit him with a moon when he goes up in the air for the meteors. Hit him with a moon if you safely get out of range of Miquella's explosion, but don't do it within the realm of the explosion if you block it, because 1, you don't have time, and 2, there's too many frequent shots within there that'll interrupt you. Hit him with a moon if you roll through the quadruple slash, and hopefully it'll block his swords in the air 8 move spinning dance, which is, and for my money, his most dangerous move. Use the magic attack and damage negation flask. Use it at the beginning of phase 2 or after Miquella's Light if you can. Again, memorize when you can get a flask off and when you can't, and when you can get it 1 shot versus 2 shot. It should take you about 5 frost procs to kill him, 2 in phase 1, 3 in phase 2. Don't be greedy. Use your shield regularly. Accept that you're going to take like 5% of your health of damage sometimes, but it keeps you from getting 1 shot. And that's it. I hope this is helpful. Bye.